This is the full recap for Dana White's Contender Series Week number 8, where I go through each fight, giving my thoughts on whether or not a contract was received and what their next fight should be, whether that's in the UFC or not. Starting off with Pedro Falcao against James Barnes. Pedro Falcao picks up the third round, KO, TKO via ground and pound. So this fight went the way I thought it was. I thought it was going to go to decision. It was close to getting to a decision, but I knew that Barnes was not going to want to entertain anything on the feet with Falcao. Falcao clearly has the striking advantage, and he also has the power advantage. So James Barnes immediately in that first round was clinching up with Pedro Falcao, and Pedro Falcao was doing an amazing job of defending those takedowns, and did get control, I believe, in that second round for a little bit, but he was able to get back to his feet. Great takedown defense. But there was a lot of positions in that second round where Pedro Falcao was on top, and I think he had an arm triangle or something, and he just didn't step out a mount, and it was just frustrating to see. Maybe just because he was against the cage, he couldn't lock it in. He could have had other opportunities to finish this fight. He could have just kept it up on the feet, but he ends up getting the third round, ground and pound, regardless, but he doesn't receive a contract. Understandable, right? I think the way Dana White's looking at this is we have a prospect here. He's okay. If you look at the depth of the bantamweight division, this guy's going to drown, right? There's a lot of guys that are going to be able to deal with this grappling, and they're just going to light him up on the feet, because I don't think Falcao is the greatest striker, but I don't think he has the grappling to really be effective, especially in the bantamweight division that we have in the UFC. In terms of what his next opponent should be, he fought in Shooto, Brazil. He can go back there. He can stay here in the U.S. and maybe string up a win or two in promotions like LFA. Promotions that UFC are more looking at in terms of prospects, and he can also pick up some solid wins there, gain some experience before he comes into the UFC, because the bantamweight division is insane in the UFC, and I think this guy drowns in it. So he's 29, he's got time. I don't think he's ready for the UFC at the time. Next up, we have Armen Petrosyan defeating Kaloyan Kolev via first round KO, TKO. Armen's a beast. I think one thing that benefited me from picking up this line early on Petrosyan, I got him at plus 260 as a straight bet. But I think one of the things that benefit is since I'm an avid MMA fan, I'm always looking at regional promotions, and obviously stumbled upon this fight. I saw Tapology was just heavily in favor of Kolev, and typically Tapology, usually the voters are in favor of favorite in the fight, and I saw that nobody was choosing Petrosyan. Initially I thought people weren't choosing Kolev because of I don't think they were diving too deep into it, and I was also looking at it a bit early, so I don't think the actual people who pay attention to this type of thing and don't just throw bullshit predictions on Tapology were eventually going to add on to that percentage. But Armen stated around a 22% prediction as him picking up the win on Tapology. So I was waiting for the odds to drop, and when the odds were at 260, I was immediately on it. I didn't sprinkle enough, unfortunately, and obviously the odds caught up. Picks up the win here. It went the way I thought it was going to go. Kolev is good. His stand-up is a bit mediocre, if I'm being honest. You could tell that he's a wrestler. And as soon as he entertained the striking with Petrosyan, you could just see the levels. And Petrosyan just destroyed him. And when I was looking at this in terms of prediction, it was do I think Kolev can keep it on the ground, or do I see Kolev finishing Petrosyan on the ground? And I didn't see it at all, right? I looked at his Armen's footage, and he's gotten controlled by grapplers. Minakov's brother is an insane grappler. He wasn't able to do much damage to Petrosyan, so I didn't see Kolev doing anything, and that's how it went. One thing that surprised me, though, is that Armen finished him a lot faster than I thought. Kolev coming into this, you saw his physique. Nothing like his physique on Tapology. It's ridiculous. This guy came in like a sponge, basically, compared to what he is on Tapology. And, it showed. He didn't have much cardio. Someone mentioned in the comments that, him coming into the shape compared to before, he probably has no cardio, and that was right. He immediately gassed in that first round, and Petrosyan was slowly defending those takedowns better, eventually just landing his combinations, the knee, and then the eventual head kick to knock him out. But yeah, good win. Those who picked up on that early line, good job. Those who still picked him afterwards, good job on you. He wasn't that much of a favorite. It was a solid pick. Now, he obviously received the contract. That's not even a question. But for his next opponent, Dana mentioned he's 30 years old. He's not going to have the most time. Although light heavyweight division usually have 35-year-olds still at the top. I think Petrosyan's striking is a problem in that light heavyweight division. There's some good strikers in light heavyweight division, but Armen has technique and power. And I think he'll cause a lot of problems, especially with grapplers trying to take him down. He's going to be fine and set to go. In terms of how you want to push him, you could push him a little bit quicker. You can give him Khalil Roundtree. He's coming off a win off Modestas Bukauskas. Right? Bukauskas is not that great of a win, let's be real here, even though he's coming off a win. It's not the craziest win. I think that's a good matchup. You give him a veteran as well. That'll be a good step up. Stefan Chukwi coming off a win as well. But Stefanchuk was a little weird, right? I think you pair him up against Armen Petrosyan and get the better prospect here and kind of just flush the other one out. That would be a good spot. But yeah, good win by Armen Petrosyan. He gets it out in that first round. Had a little bit of scares because people were on Kolev still, but I was confident in the Petrosyan pick, and I'm glad I was. Next up, we have Caio Borralho versus Jesse Murray in the light heavyweight division. So Caio Borralho, this is the second time on Contender Series. The first time he fought at 185 against Aaron Jeffrey, who, if you don't know, if you know Andre Petrosky, who's currently signed to the UFC, Aaron Jeffrey finished him in LFA before Andre Petrosky got on. So why the fuck, when Aaron Jeffrey beat Andre Petrosky, why did he have to go to Contender Series and do that? It's very unfortunate, but obviously Caio Borralho won that fight. But it was just annoying. I had to bring it up. Like, let's be real here. That's just stupid. Andre Petrosky's like 5-1 or something. Like, Aaron Jeffrey deserves to be in the UFC over him. No disrespect. But here we have Caio Borralho against Jesse Murray. Caio Borralho pulled out a fucking clinic. Let's be real. He moved up a weight class and he just destroyed Jesse Murray. He showed levels to striking that Murray wasn't on. Murray, he thrives in the pocket. He likes it when you get in the pocket and you do that and you box with him. But Caio Borralho is the opposite of that. He's in and out. He'll pop your shots. He'll throw things in the pocket, but once he has you rocked and he knows he has the finish, Caio Borralho carried that power from middleweight to light heavyweight, which is scary to think. How does that make Aaron Jeffrey look? I'm not trying to suck out Aaron Jeffrey, but like, if Aaron Jeffrey was durable enough to withstand what Caio Borralho was knocking out a 205er, like, Caio Borralho is something special. And obviously, he's now 10-1, 28 years old. Let's build him up. Let's give him a good path here, right? Let's build him up. He's a good Brazilian prospect. He knows how to talk English. This guy is, he's a real deal, and I can't wait to see him. In terms of what his next opponent should be, let's give him Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey's a little bit of a stretch, right? Sam Alvey's like not up in the rankings, but he's definitely a good test. He's a veteran. He's been losing a shit ton, and he still hasn't gotten cut. So why not bring him an up-and-comer? Because Sam Alvey's not going to be making any runs. He's going to be facing these newcomers. So why not give him Caio Borralho? He's got a little bit of a name on him. That'll be a good fight. Dusko Todorovic, obviously coming off that loss against Gregory Rodriguez by decision, I think. Yeah, it was a competitive fight. That'll be a nice striking match. But, like, do you really want to get rid of Dusko? He's off 2 losses if he gets one more loss, because I think Caio Borralho beats him. Like, are they going to cut him? I think that's what UFC probably wants. They want to cut someone. They want not do 2 different prospects. So, good matchup. He improves to 10-0, 10-1, and he receives a contract. This man is a problem for the middleweight division, because the middleweight division, let's be real, middleweight division is shit. It doesn't really have depth. Sure, there's good fighters, but like top 15 and above is pretty where all the good fighters are at. Everything under, I feel like Caio Borralho has a good chance to beat. But yeah, good win. Next up, we have Piera Rodriguez versus Valesca Machado. And Piera Rodriguez wins a unanimous decision, 29-28 across the whole board. Into that later, but basically, Machado was doing very well. She was clearly the faster striker, but I think she wasn't throwing enough. When she was first, she would always land. Piera Rodriguez is really there to be hit because she's typically plotted, and she doesn't really cut angles that much. She's typically going forward, so Valesca Machado was finding, her shots. She's fighting on the outside very well. I think Piera Rodriguez just mixed in everything a little bit better, and that's what got her the win. I'm sure Valesca Machado was mixing in the grappling a little bit better, that she might have, won it the other way. But Piera Rodriguez was more willing to grapple and more willing to take those risks. And then that's why she got the win here. She receives the contract from Dana White, and she's very electric. She has a fun personality, and she's very intense in there, right? You saw that when she was getting hit, she would just basically say come on, let's go. Very good personality. I think she'll do well in the strawweight division. Undefeated at this point. What do you think about her next opponent? Like a Sam Hughes. I think she's coming off 2 losses. That's a good one there. And I know that Sam Hughes recently got pulled out from one of her fights. I forgot who she was going to face, but it was pretty recent. You could put her up against her. Dana likes to bring these Contender Series people on a little bit quicker than you think. I think she might want to bring her back in December, but who knows. Next, we have Liang, who went at 261 when they had all the, performances to Chinese fighters coming and fighting. She fought there against Carnelossi, and she ended up losing by submission. That'll be a good fight. I'm pretty sure Piera is going to want to entertain the grappling with Liang, and it's going to be more of a grappling match in that fight. But we'll see. Yeah, good win, undefeated. We always need prospects in the Now the main event, Solomon Renfro versus Jonny Parsons. It was a close fight, but I think there's still a clear winner in Solomon Renfro. I thought he won this fight 29-28. He clearly won that first round. That first round started I was competitive across that first round until obviously Solomon Renfro got the knockdown and was just overwhelming Jonny Parsons. And I think he even ended it with a takedown. So I think he won that first round. Definitely secured that first round. Second round comes around. Jonny Parsons starts putting on the pace a little bit, starts landing his punches a little bit more instead of just throwing naked kicks and leg kicking. Because I think one thing that Solomon Renfro did well in this fight, he was able to see those leg kicks because Solomon Renfro was really open to the body, but he was defending well, and Parsons was trying to fake it up to the head, and Solomon Renfro just manages to get his glove there every single time. But that second round, I still give it to Solomon Renfro because it was competitive within those first 3 or 4 minutes. And then Solomon Renfro secures a takedown, keeps control, and still lands a little bit of peppering shots. So I slightly edged that round to Solomon Renfro. And then going into the third round, obviously Jonny Parsons doing a lot better, was more busy in that third round. It just ended off very nicely. He was landing his punches very well. I think Solomon Renfro, I don't think he was tired, but he did do a little bit too much in that first round. I think he could have held it back. Solomon Renfro doesn't have the craziest gas tank, but one thing he does well is he's still in the fight, still countering, still has pop to his shots, and obviously can still mix in the wrestling when he's tired. But that decision is a little bit, I don't know. It was a close fight, but I still think there was a clear winner. It's been like a narrative, at least in Vegas, that this happens, right? It happened with Ramazan Ameev on Saturday. And it seems like it's happening a lot to the fighters that are the heavy favorites or are parlay pieces, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people had Solomon Renfro on their parlays because he's a solid pick, and I thought he won this fight, and he technically, in my opinion, won the fight. It's happening a lot. And with Ramazan Ameev, he was the exact same way. And Ramazan Ameev is known to go to decision. It was bound to happen to him at some point, but it's just like it's very suspect. And I think the Nevada State Athletic Commission needs to be like reviewed, or like someone needs to do something, because this is happening a lot more often than it used to happen. Like literally, you're getting robberies every single week. It's insane. But yeah, you can't really do much. I thought Solomon Renfro edged those first 2 rounds, but props to Jonny Parsons, man. He did exactly what I thought he was going to do, is just stay in the range with Solomon Renfro and, give him some trouble. I thought Jonny Parsons' leg kicks were going to do more than what they did to Solomon Renfro, because Solomon Renfro's a good boxer, but he doesn't really mix in his kicks. But Jonny Parsons is moving up from lightweight to welterweight, so the fact that he put on a performance like that, very impressive in my opinion. He's 30 years old. He got the contract. He moves up to 8-2. In terms of his next opponent, Steve Garcia just fought against Charlie Ontiveros, and let's be real, Charlie Ontiveros is, you have a win on his record, it goes unnoticed, right? No one's really paying attention to that, to be honest. But yeah, you could put him in there with Steve Garcia right away, test him at lightweight. This was at welterweight. He might have less durability down at lightweight. But yeah, Rafael Alves is another good one. He lost to Dizmir Magulov. That would be a really entertaining feat. Both guys will throw bombs. And I'm sure Rafael Alves is going to try to take it to the ground with Jonny Parsons, but Jonny Parsons is not going to let that happen. Those are 2 matchups you could put. Start him nice and slow. He's moving down a weight class to see how he performs in the UFC first. But yeah, great night of fights. Very entertaining. All the fights were pretty much entertaining, except for that first one was a little bit lackluster in the beginning with all the clinching. But yeah, cashed decently. Lost the parlay, but that's about it. I got the straight pick on Armen, which I'm happy about. And that'll be all. Peace, homies.